Order. If everyone could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers? Present. Trustee Sweet?
Present.
Trustee Natsky-Trorky?
She won't be here tonight.
Trustee Varian?
Present.
Mayor Yurkish?
Present. Next would be approval of the amendments. Are there any amendments of the agenda? Okay. Next thing we have on the agenda for right now is Making the Difference Award presentations. The village established the Making the Difference Award in 2014. The award is given to groups or individuals in Homer Glen that through their volunteer services has made a difference. Tonight we have Brian Kirk, John Roberts, and Tammy O'Brien being presented with Making the Difference Award. Brian, John, and Tammy all volunteer their time to educate people about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. Tammy O'Brien serves as board member of nonprofit organization AAIM, which stands for the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists. As a representative of AAIM and in the Blink of an Eye Foundation, Tammy has spent over a decade educating youth on the dangers of drinking and driving. On behalf of the Village of Homer Glen, I would like to thank Tammy for her efforts to raise public awareness about the dangers of driving drunk or drugged. Her service to the community has helped to make a difference. Second and third would be Brian Kirk and John Roberts. They're co-founders of a non-for-profit organization, HERO, which stands for the Heroin Epidemic Relief Organization. HERO's mission is to stop the growing heroin epidemic that is rapidly spread across the nation. Brian and John have both invested countless hours educating the public about the dangers of heroin and have helped many family and friends find treatment options or cope with the loss of a loved one. On behalf of the Village of Homer Glen, I want to thank you both for your outreach efforts and dedication to ending this awful epidemic. Your service to the community and others has helped to make the difference. So with that, if you could all stand up and come forward. Okay. Brian Kirk, the award for making the difference, which is a huge thing. Thank you very much. All right, same thing. We need more people like you to do this. Tammy, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, please.
Okay.
Just right
The mayor. There you go.
Sorry, Coach. I'm holding this. My right, your left. Sorry. Okay. All right, ready? 1, 2. Oh, I got it covered. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 12, 2015 Village Board meeting? So moved. By Trustee Costa. Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll? Should we just do voice or?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G, schedule of accounts payable. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of July 24th to August 27th, 2015?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll go first and then turn it over to the trustees. This Saturday, we have the Chamber Expo at Hadley Middle School, address 15731 South Bell Road. It goes from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday. So it'd be nice if you have any questions, if you want to see what we have open in the village, come on out. I'll show you what everyone does. Second, neighborhood road repaving program update. The 2015 repaving program is nearing completion. All the streets selected for this year's program have been repaired and repaved. The striping for those repaved roads will be completed this week, along with a shoulder stone being added to Parker and 163rd Street. Other than that, I'm done. Trustee Barrington?
Nothing to report there.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Costa?
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Caprio?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a brief report for the Parade and Festival Committee. We have our first post-scheduled meeting for next Tuesday, we're in the process of scheduling it, to do our brief recap as the 2000 Festival and how it went. We're working on potential sites for potential plans for a new site and looking at the logistics of what that undertaking might involve. Also, we do not have yet the final numbers in for the festival that we had here in 2015. I am confident that we will definitely cover all costs and probably be in the black as we have been for several years now. And we look forward to the 2016 Homer Community Festival. That is all for my report.
Thank you, Trustee Caprio. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Environment Committee. Our next meeting is on September 1st, and I will have more to report at the next board meeting. But reporting for the Homer Harvest Day Committee. The Homer Harvest Days Committee is proud to announce an extraordinary lineup of performers, entertainers, and musicians for our annual Homer Harvest Days event, September 12 and 13, at the Trantina Farm. In addition to the extensive lineup of demonstrators, reenactors, arts, crafts, and food vendors, attendees will find plenty of new and exciting entertainment this year. The Budabi brothers have been wowing audiences for over 9 years all across America. Flying knives and torches along with quick wit will keep guests on the edge of their hay bales. The amazing Budabi brothers will perform shows on both Saturday and Sunday. The Frankfurt Brass Band is the largest performance we've had to grace the stage of Homer Harvest Days with approximately 30 members. They were originally formed in 1897 and made a comeback thanks to the Frankfurt Historical Society in 2005, and they've been tooting their horns ever since. The Frankfurt Brass Band will perform 2 sets on Saturday, September 12th, between noon and 3. We also knew this year we'll have Red Tail Ring will be Sunday's musical performer on the main stage with 2 shows between noon and 3. Whether their rendering is a traditional tune or one of their many original compositions, the duo infuses each song with musical imagination, harmonies, and instrumental artistry on fiddle, banjo, mandolin, jaw harp, and plain old footstopping. This is just a small sample of the type of entertainment you will find at Harvest Days this year. The pony rides, kids, crafts, demonstrators, and unique arts and crafts vendors will be in attendance as they are each year, but the committee is very eager to let everyone know about the great lineup of entertainers. We are seeking volunteers for this event. Please contact the Township Office at 708-301-0632 or sign up online at www.homerharvestdays.com. We are also looking for an adult volunteer or volunteers to act as security on the grounds Saturday night from 11 to dawn. Please contact the Township Office. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Swayze. Trustee Rogers?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. We have to go back to one thing for the schedule of accounts payable. instead of doing a voice, we need to do a roll call. So, Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call for the accounts payable?
Sure. Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Okay. I have to ask you. Do we have a report from the treasurer?
Yes, Mayor, I have the Treasurer's Report of Cash and Investments at July 31st, 2015. It's the third month of this fiscal year. It shows the general fund with a cash and investment balance of $4,840,341.16. The special event fund had a balance of $111,809.42. The environmental fund had a balance of $36,074.55. The motor fuel tax fund, cash balance, $2,261,376.16. The land acquisition fund had a cash balance of $23,532.06. Park and recreation fund had a cash and investment balance of $2,706,514.88. And the debt service fund had a balance of $1,094,176.67. Capital project fund, cash and investment balance was $3,407,534.03. The EAB tree replacement fund had a balance of $505,456.31. And the last fund, the CIP bond fund, had a cash and investment balance of $15,690,427.22, for a total cash and investment balance of $30,677,242.46. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Okay. Village clerk,
No report.
village attorney,
Nothing, Your Honor.
public safety officials, village manager.
Mayor, very quickly, the village was notified this week, and there have been some news articles about it, information on our website also, that one additional bat in the community was found and tested positive for rabies. So the Will County Animal Control just wants to remind everyone to steer clear of bats. If you see bats laying on the ground, dead bats, near your home, any bat that you might think is sick, to please call them at 815-462-5633. Also, just to mention, on our website is listed the next meeting of the Northern Will County Water Agency. It'll be held here in Homer Glen, and you can go to our village website for the exact date of that. And also, the mayor had mentioned this weekend, this Saturday, the Homer Chamber of Commerce is having their Business Expo and Health Fair. The village sponsored the bags that will be distributed at the fair. This is an example of them. They're reusable, so you can use them at grocery stores and whatnot. It's a nice message inside of each of the bags from Mayor Yukich, encouraging people to shop and dine in Homer Glen. And finally, just want to wish Director Joe Baber happy birthday. His birthday is this Saturday, so you can all wish him a happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cameron. All right, next is going to be public comment. We do try to hold it to 3 minutes. If you could please try to oblige us. First one is Walt Kono.
I just wanted, I'm on the workshop
Okay.
agenda. I just want to let you know I was here if you had any questions.
Okay, thanks, Walt. Second would be Dennis Gary.
Most of you, I'm sure, know where I stand on speeding. I'm totally against it. There have been a number of people come before the board complaining of speeding in their neighborhoods. It certainly isn't limited to the neighborhood that I live in. I believe it's item number 5 on the agenda, where you're going to post speed limit signs on over there by Crystal Lake Drive. And I believe the speed limit is going to be 20 miles per hour over there, which is excellent. There's scuttlebutt around that the village may go 20 miles per hour village-wide in residential areas, which is a more than excellent idea. The state gives you full authority because we're a home rule to do that. You don't need studies, you don't need anything, you just say, we're gonna do it. That's something that I think you should do, and it should be done as soon as possible. That would lead to an additional problem, however, and that's enforcement. Defendant fish is somewhat hindered by only have roughly on average 4 men during the day to monitor 22 square miles. That makes up the village. That's a big burden to track speeders. I'm sure his troopers do the best they can. Unfortunately, but that amount of square miles, there's not enough. So I think the village should start looking at other ways to get perhaps other means of enforcing traffic speed limits. It can be nothing but a plus for this village. And that's my 2 cents worth. You've heard it all before, I'm sure. We need these residents in these communities that have speeders on the streets, they need some help. They really do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Jim Cahill?
Jim Cahill, President of the Stonewood Villas Homeowners Association. I'm speaking on their behalf tonight. I don't know if you realize that 3/4 of the developers that had projects in Homer Glen prior to this recent recession are no longer doing projects here. It's a combination, they've gone elsewhere, bankrupt, and are out of business. It's been a tough time, and like many businesses, they've had their share of problems. Tonight you have an opportunity to help with our subdivision, and I'd like to make a couple of comments on that. These are partnerships between the village, the developer, and the residents. When a project goes under, like Amberfield did, it hurts everybody involved. The village had a major financial interest in that, as you all know. In our case, Tom Hahn, Stonebridge Development, has worked with us through this difficult time in spite of reduced business. He has continued to struggle through. In fact, this week he paved our streets in the villas area, put the top coat on the streets. As far as the homeowners, I'd like to read you a resolution that we passed. Be it resolved, the Stonebridge Village homeowners express continued confidence in Stonebridge Woods development and support the amendments to the existing plan unit development as described in case number 1510S, which is item 8 on your agenda, and the quotes. And I'm sure we also support items 6 and 7, which pertain to Stonebridge Woods. So we ask for your support in also approving those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next speaker will be John Coy.
John Coy. Between speeding on the side streets and that, I don't know how long it's been, but Galga Road now still, I don't see why we can't take them barricades up, put 4 stop signs on there and have a 4-way stop over there. I mean, everybody that goes west, as you travel, or if, like where I live, to go out to Lamont or something like that, it's easier for me to go that way. I can't go that way, so with that I have to take 131st Street or 123rd. I mean, what's the holdup that all of a sudden the project was stopped? Was that our fault? Was it the engineer's fault? I've heard all different stories. Then I hear that the trucking people, the terminal people, or the contractor don't want to pay to open it up. Another guy says, no, it's the village. Another one says it's the township. Somebody else says it's the highway department. I'm getting nowhere with my thinks and thoughts on that one. But I also heard that they don't want to open up because IDOT, whoever the contractor, which the engineering company then would be referred to, did not purchase the property to put the lights in. That's why they stopped it where it is. But what's the progress? Nobody seems to be concerned, except for the citizens that live over there where everybody's trying to go through their subdivisions, speeding. Another thing, and when I came in, I don't remember, and my neighbors have asked me if they're going to spray in our subdivision this year for the speed incident. This week wasn't too bad because the temperature's been so cold, but in a week ago when it was warm, and before that they were atrocious out there. And most of you know where Yankees Park is, and right down there is a wetland, which breeds mosquitoes, and we get the brunt of them a lot of times. So I'd like to find out when the mosquito sprayers are coming out, or when, or how many times they're gonna do it. Thank you.
Now I can actually answer both those. The property on Gauger, that's Lockport. I'll call the mayor tomorrow and find out if there's anything he can do to open up that road. That's not our property, that's Lockport's property. Second, as for the mosquitoes, they did do a spraying last week. They do it between 12 and 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They do it when people are usually sleeping, so it doesn't bother them. They're not breathing the stuff in. I did hear them go by my house. They were supposed to do the whole subdivision. So as far as I'm taking it for granted, it's done. I just wrote a check for $17,000 for them, so they did the village, and they're gonna do it one more time over Labor Day weekend.
I know in the past days, occasionally, because there's only 50-some houses in my subdivision, so if that is one way in, one way out, for some reason, sometimes they go in and Derby one come out on the other side of me and never hit us in the middle. But like I said, it could be a mistake, or maybe they did, but nobody's seen it.
And like I said, they do it late at night, though, so. All right. We'll find out, though, if we did. All right. Last one would be Mike Jessup.
Hi, Mike Jessup. I'm here about my lot consolidation, and I just wanted to let you know I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Last one is Tom Hahn.
Hello, Tom Hahn, manager of Stonebridge Woods Development. As you know, there are 3 cases before you tonight regarding Stonebridge Woods subdivision. Since the last board meeting, your staff and I have worked diligently to finalize a completion agreement for the subdivision. During these 2 weeks, though there was no approved agreement in place, in the spirit of cooperation, I directed paving crews to complete the final lift of asphalt in the townhome area and the main entry to the subdivision as per the draft agreement. One of the cases before you tonight involves an amended and restated plan for the townhome buildings. Initially, my only request was the reduction of the number of side load driveways. In reviewing my application, staff determined that there were a number of other issues that, in their opinion, were not consistent with the original approved preliminary plat. Please understand that my intentions are to complete the townhome area with buildings that are substantially the same as the 56 units completed to date. We applied for building permits and were granted those permits and subsequent occupancy permits for 56 units, many of which do not conform to the exact building footprint and driveway configuration on the preliminary plat. But all the buildings do conform to R6A setbacks and other building zoning codes. Also, there was never any lot coverage or impervious area requirements on any of those permits. But in recent years, the village has passed a zoning ordinance that now sets certain standards that were not in effect at the time of the approval of this PUD. Much of what is before you tonight for your approval is simply allowing us to complete the remaining buildings in conformance with the recent zoning ordinance and staff's interpretation of what was approved by the preliminary plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That does it for public comment. Now we are in the legislation and action items. So that, the first one is discussing the contract with HR Green for the Woodbine Area Drainage Project. So is there a motion to approve the attached professional services contract with HR Green Inc. for the Woodbine Area Regional Drainage Improvement Project Plan for the not to exceed amount of $76,702. It is understood that HR Green Incorporated will complete the plan within 12 weeks and 2 days from execution of the contract between the Village of Homer Glen and HR Green Incorporated. It is further understood that the mayor is directed to sign said contract contingent upon review and approval by the village attorney.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Keith?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? For approve, personal and professional reasons, I need to abstain. Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye. Motion carries. Second on the list is just a consolidation of lots in Mallard Lake subdivision. What the gentleman is doing right now is he has 2 lots. The lot that he's on right now, he wants to add a driveway on. There's not enough room on the existing lot that the house is, so he's just extending it to the second lot. So this way he falls within the ordinance. No harm, he's got a nice piece of land and room to roam. So, with that being said, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15038, an ordinance approving a preliminary and final plat of subdivision consolidation for Jessup subdivision, a consolidation of lots 1 and 2 in the Mallard Lake Estates Plan Unit Development, commonly known as 15133 South Mallard Lane, Homer, Glen, Illinois, subject to the village staff's technical review and approval prior to recording as recommended by the Plan Commission. Mike Jessup is the applicant, and this is case number HG1513S.
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just have a comment. I believe I saw some previous communication that the HOA approved everything that you're doing. Is that correct? Because I guess there's nobody from the HOA, because I haven't really seen a letter or official documentation to that effect. I just want to make sure, everything was agreed.
Yes.
Trustee Swees, I can try to answer that as well. The HOA, I spoke with the attorney who represents the Homeowners Association for Mallard Lake Estates, and he did indicate that their last meeting, they approved the driveway extension.
Okay.
Any other questions?
In the consolidation, so if we agree to this, we're not overstepping an HOA ordinance.
He indicated that they were aware of the consolidation. They didn't expressly vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
And I think you said you and I had discussions, you had reviewed the covenants, and the HOA is not required to approve the consolidation of the two, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Okay, third on the agenda is the Gatzis extension. Mr. Gatzis has got some property on 143rd that he plans on doing some buildings. We got hit with a recession, and we're just coming out of it now, so he wants another year extension. So is there a motion to grant an extension of the existing special use permit for a planned unit development for Homer Glen Center, Phase 1 and 2, for an additional 1-year period, retroactively beginning on August 8, 2015, through and including August 8, 2016, for certain real property located at 14401 West 143rd Street in Homer Glen, Illinois. George Gatzis on behalf of Homer Town Plaza LLC, applicant case number HG0516MS and case HG0616S.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I understand that I can amend the motion during discussion, and I would just like to add, for the record, to that motion, to include that Mr. Gatz, on behalf of Homer Town Plaza, abide by the village ordinances and building codes that are in effect at the time the building permit is issued, and not reverting back to 2005 when this originally started.
Everyone okay with that?
I'm okay.
Okay, are there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 4, approved bid proposal from HR Green for Phase 3 of Stormwater Improvement Program. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the proposal from HR Green for construction engineering services related to the Phase 3 of the Homer Glen Works Stormwater Drainage Improvement Program? for a not to exceed amount of $23,975.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion?
I might just mention the two projects that are part of Phase 3. And that is the Hadley Woods Estates Detention Pond and the Spring Creek Trail Detention Pond improvements.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, reducing the speed limit signs on Crystal Lake Drive and the Hunt Club Drive. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15-039, authorizing the adjustment of traffic control devices, speed limit signs, on Crystal Lake Drive and Hunt Club Drive, and reducing the speed limit from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
And Dennis, you are all right. We are going to discuss it at the next meeting to do it for the entire village. Number 6, development agreement with Stonebridge Woods regarding public improvements. Is there a motion to approve and direct the mayor to sign a development and subdivision completion agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and Stonebridge Woods Development LLC regarding completion of the remaining public improvements in the Stonebridge Woods subdivision, contingent upon final review and approval by the village attorney?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion?
One question, Mayor, if I could, please. There's a very in-depth report, a lot of work that has to be done that Mr. Hahn and staff have gone through. I would just like to go on record saying and make sure that we're not going to come back in 3 or 4 months or 6 months or 8 months and add more to this that was missed and that Mr. Hahn is going to have to try to be held to. Are we quite confident that we've captured everything in this agreement?
Yes, it's a very comprehensive list.
So,
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just that we'll oversee this project completely and make sure that these improvements and everything.
Absolutely.
Yes. That, and Mr. Hahn's he's going to take care of it. Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 8, amending the PUD plan for the townhome portion of Stonebridge Woods Development.
Seven.
7.
Oh, sorry. Number 7, rezoning a single-family residential district to a multifamily residential district, Stonebridge Woods Development. Is there a motion authorizing the approval of ordinance number 15-036, an ordinance granting a zoning map amendment, rezoning from the R3A single-family residential district to the R6A? Attached multifamily residential district for certain real property located at 13905 West Breen Drive, Homer Glen, Illinois. Stonebridge Woods Development LLC, case number 1428-M, as recommended by the Plan Commission. It is understood that this rezoning is dependent on a successful approval of the Village Board of the development agreement between the Village and Stonebridge Woods Development LLC regarding the completion of remaining public improvements in the Stonebridge subdivision.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This is, I just want to, this is a 3-unit villa instead of,
Yes.
it's a 3. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Number 8, amending the PUD plan for the townhome portion of Stonebridge Woods Development. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15-037, an ordinance approving an amendment to the special use permit to grant a change to the Stonebridge Woods PUD to amend the conditions of ordinance number 04008 and approving the amended and restated PUD plan for the townhome portion of the subdivision. To to modify the approved building footprints and driveway locations, including an exception to the R6A district allowable maximum impervious surface coverage for certain real property generally located on the east side of Stonebridge Drive, south of West Frontage Road in Homer Glen, Illinois. Case number HG1510S, as recommended by the Plan Commission. It is understood that this rezoning is dependent on the successful approval by the Village Board of the development agreement between the Village and Stonebridge Woods Development, LLC, regarding the completion of the remaining public improvements in the Stonebridge Woods subdivision.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
I just have a quick question. Does the developer feel that he is really going to need the maximum, that's a 10% increase up to 55%? Or is that just a little bit of a buffer in there in case?
It's a bit of a buffer, but we do have some lots that already are at 50%. So we're not really asking for anything different than what we've been doing.
Is there any other discussion?
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment. I appreciate the president of the Stonebridge Association when you include letters or saying that you are approving, or, you know, this helps us too. So I appreciate your being there.
Thanks, Jim. Anything else? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Barron.
Aye.
Trustee Sweet.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee Cabrio.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, workshop item, potential adjustment to the special use permit for Kono's property. Chief Building Official Joe Baber will now give a presentation on potential adjustments to the special use permit for a planned unit development for the property at 16849 South Sea Road.
Thank you. In August of 2014, the Village Board approved a PUD special use to approve the sale of alcohol at the Kono Farm. This included 5 buildings which would be used for an assembly use and would allow the consumption of alcohol. This PUD special use also included specific dates for the compliance with the adopted building codes, which included sprinkler fire suppression systems. At a meeting held in June of this year with representatives of the Village, Homer Township Fire Department, and Mr. Kono, he indicated he was having extreme difficulty in meeting the timelines of the PUD as it pertains to the fire sprinkler installations on the property. After discussion, it was agreed that an adjustment to the existing PUD special use and a reduction in the number of buildings used in assembly use would be an option. The Tilsey barn and tent would comply, as these are seasonal structures used for weddings and banquets and are seasonal for the type of events. The corn maze and Arbor Day events would be considered special events and would require special event permits. With the board's direction, we would like to present an adjusted special use for consideration at a future meeting. Any questions?
Okay. The way what Joe just got done saying is, right now, trying to get water to the building is probably $500,000 to $750,000 away from going into his building. Then on top of it, he would have to put the sprinkler system in. Out of the 5 buildings, 4 of them are steel pole barn. 1 is a barn. The barn has 3 doors on it that can open up as wide as a 2-car garage. And it's not really used for entertaining it. There's a bar in there, they get a drink. There's a large tent next to it. That's where the people stay, is in the tent next to it. So rather than putting him through the misery of spending probably well over $1 million, and he's not going to be cooking food there, chance of anything burning down is probably $1 million to 1, and the only building that can really burn isn't going to be used.
And Kono did comply with the fire alarm and smoke detector portion of the agreement. That's all been completed, and we will be doing regular inspections out there with the fire protection district.
So with that being said, could I have a consensus of the board for this to be brought back at the next meeting so we can vote on it?
Is someone from the fire department here?
No, not right now, but we will have someone here for the next meeting.
And those buildings, and none of those buildings are heated, correct? Because there's
No.
no heat in there either.
The buildings that would be included, the barn, is a seasonal type heat system in there, I believe, Walt?
Yes.
In just the red barn.
Yeah. And once again, these are adopted building codes through the village. Just, I know the fire department is more on the fire suppression sprinkler portion of it, but they're adopted building codes that the village has. So it's not just the fire department enforcing the fire sprinkler, it's our ordinance as well.
As long as the professionals and the authorities who approve those type of things approve of it, I have no problem if they can come to the next meeting and we can discuss it further.
Okay. Mr. Sweet?
Yep.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I would like to talk to the fire department too, and also at the next meeting have I visited the site, but I have, so the rest of the people can see the layouts, the buildings on a plat maybe, and nothing formal, just draw it out so they can see where the wooden barn is in, conjunction to the outdoor.
The other media included that, so we'll include that same information.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so yes, if you could please bring it before us for the next meeting so we can get this done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question, if okay, if I can address it. As you know, my name is George Gatsis, owner of the Homer Homestead. I've been a resident here for years, since 1969. The question I had on the issue that was raised on abiding by the ordinances once the building permit is issued. In 2009, there was a building permit issued. I had paid the $24,000 for the building permit. Is that going to apply? I mean, once I start construction now, or is that going to be, because you mentioned that once the building permit is issued, I would have to abide by any ordinances that exist at the time it's issued, but it's already been issued back in 2009. I just want to clarify that, so.
Mr. Baker, is that still being
I
extended?
have to check, I don't believe that building permit was ever completed and issued. It was in for review, but I do not believe it was ever issued.
Well, it had to be because I paid for it.
Well, just because the application fee was paid does not mean the permit was issued.
I mean, I'm good with that part of it, with the start of construction, to abide by any ordinance that exists at the time of construction. I don't mind that, but the building permit was paid for and issued in 2009. It's just been extended all these years, and we kept going. So I would assume it's still valid. I mean, I can't lose that $24,000.
Maybe you could check with staff.
George, we'll
They know.
work with staff and make sure everything's.
Okay. All right, that's the only question I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Village Manager Davis was directed by the village board at our last meeting to create a list of items that will need to be done at the future Village Hall Park property in order to open up property for passive recreation. He has asked for our feedback on the items highlighted in yellow on the draft spreadsheet. And Cam, can you please give us a summary of the draft spreadsheet and then highlight the items that you were seeking feedback on?
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, it's changed over time, so even I have to look to double check. 49 items on it. I just want to thank all the staff members that have helped me over the past couple weeks put all this together. And the spreadsheet is very self-explanatory, so I won't go through each item. Just say that the items on the spreadsheet change basically daily, which is why you have another updated one in front of you tonight. Everything that's red has already actually been done. Smaller things that needed to be done, whether the park was opened or not, so those, we got right to those. And the items that I highlighted in yellow were definite items that I definitely needed your feedback on. Obviously, if you have comments, suggestions, concerns about any of the other items, we can discuss those too. The big, if you total up all of the items on the spreadsheet, and we were to move forward with all the items as the spreadsheet so designates, the cost is roughly about $15,000, which is a very reasonable sum to get the park open for passive recreation. The big cost items that are not included in that, we're still investigating, and that is the installation of temporary fencing to protect the north side of the building so that there's no access. And also, if it's the board's wishes to completely secure the property, in other words, make sure that there's a fence all the way around it, there's a line of bushes, about 260 feet, that run between the garbage enclosure and the entrance to the property that would also need some temporary fencing. So that's also is an item on here. Additionally, at some point through the process, I think someone had mentioned maybe a desire to have a security camera at the entrance. So that is on here just to seek your feedback if that's something you want us to pursue. Other than that, cost-wise, I think the other item is we have to still work with a contractor to fill all of the holes that are on the property. There are approximately 30 to 50 holes in the property here, there, and everywhere. We're IDing them now, and so I do not have a cost estimate on that for you yet because obviously we have to be able to give them an accurate count before they can give us a cost. But you do have cost estimates on many, many items. They all total up to, as I mentioned, mid-15,000s. I really would like to get your consent tonight to move forward with them. There are things, as an example, give me your consent, the contractor will actually be working on dragging the path this Saturday and Sunday and laying the stone and get working on the path, filling in all the holes next week. We can order picnic tables tomorrow. We've already got garbage cans out on the site. Sign wording is already ready to go. We just have to order them. And the reason why I've held back on some items, obviously, is because you haven't given me your feedback, one, and two, because while this amount is very reasonable, really when you think about the size of the property, very reasonable amount, it wasn't budgeted for. So if it's not budgeted for, of course, I don't have the authority to spend the money. So I would need you guys to give me the authority to do that. Just to say this in terms of the Park and Recreation Fund, neither John or I, and John certainly add anything you'd like, are concerned about the Park and Recreation Fund going over budget this year. That will not happen. So what we will do is we will create a line item, or John will, I guess I should say, we'll create a line item for future Village Hall Park expenses, and all the expenses that we do have related to this and any others that come up will go into that line item so that you can track it in the future and be able to know exactly how much was spent. So with that said, maybe we could just get immediately to the yellow items, and then the board could discuss any other ones that aren't highlighted that you'd like to. So maybe the quickest one is 18, 19, and 20. Those involve the temporary fencing. And like I said, we're getting estimates from several fencing companies right now. Can't really tell you how much we think that might cost, but we do think it's very important. The fencing, if you are familiar, you're all familiar with the property. So the main gate is going to be, I think, where most golfers entered the property, where they dropped off their bags and stuff, just to the east of the building. Of course, that's also where it goes down to the basement, so that's where the fence starts, because we, of course, don't want anyone using the ramp that goes down to the basement for anything, running into the door at the end. So that's where the fence starts, and it basically wraps around the asphalt sidewalk all the way to the western property. It's approximately, I think, 370, 400 feet. And then the other fence I mentioned is the one that runs behind the hedgerow between the garbage containers and the entrance to the park property. So if you're comfortable, if you think that that's a good thing to do, we'd like to get the estimates from that. We'll communicate it back out to the board. We'll take a little poll of the board at that time. We should probably have those estimates early next week.
What material is that fencing?
It's going to be a metal fence, and it was highly recommended by the Park District Executive Director that I took through the property last week. And also, of course, portions of the building property, the very nice deck that's behind the property, are not accessible. And so even if we weren't going to fence the whole property, we would have to fence that because it's not accessible, and if it's not accessible, then we have to block access to it. So anyway, the fencing is probably will probably be the single biggest ticket item beyond what you've already seen, so I'd really like to get your feedback
On this, it says install temporary fencing. It doesn't say anything about, I mean, if you're gonna be doing a steel fence, it's not considered temporary.
Well, typically what they do is it comes in and it's on a base and they're linked together. So it's like you see in a construction site oftentimes. There won't be a need for the fencing when the building is open, okay? We wouldn't want a barrier between the building and the park when the building is open. So when I say temporary, I mean not a permanent installation. In other words, it won't be there into perpetuity. It will be there during the whole course of the building renovation until we open up the building as Village Hall, and then it would be removed.
Is that something we rent?
Well, we're getting prices for both rental and purchasing in case the purchasing is cheaper than the rental. So we're getting both of those prices, and like I said, I'll be able to summarize those and send those out to you next week.
What will the height of that fence be?
I think he's looking at a 5-foot fence.
Okay, that makes more sense, but I agree if, you know, let's find out which is the cheaper way.
Right.
Because then if we also have some functions and we do buy it, we have an opportunity to put them out there.
I know he's getting at least 3, if not 4, different proposals, so we'll have we'll have a competitive situation.
Because I think everything in yellow is very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, one question though. You say you don't want any fencing the entire length of the front?
No, one of the thoughts is that it's good to have one entrance and one exit to control access to the property. So the entrance right now has 3 bollards in it. One of them will have to be removed because it has to be accessible. There has to be a distance between that a wheelchair can get through. But other than that, so it's fenced all there, and then you get to a hedgerow which provided a buffer, but you can walk through that, and you can also drive through it maybe with a small vehicle. So that was the thought about putting a fence there. And then on the western side of the property, as everyone knows, because we've been out there many times, that was an access point at one point. So we'll need to put in, secure that with a gate so that there's access for the contractors and whatnot, but not for the general public during the construction of the building. And then it would be reopened after the building was finished.
Okay, so once the building was finished, so basically you're going to put permanent fencing on a couple of the areas because why would...
Pretty much all the fencing might be temporary. You might decide, what we're doing is we're just planning, we're assuming that all of the fencing that we're putting in is probably going to be temporary. The reason it's needed now is because there's not someone there on a daily basis. But when we move into Village Hall, we'll be there on a daily basis, and a lot of the fencing that we put up probably will not be needed. One of the things that Jim is doing is the fence that runs along the hedgerow. I think he's spending a little bit more time, Jim Wilkowski, spending a little bit more time with the fence contractors about that and seeing what it would take to make that more permanent. The trouble is that the row of bushes is a very nice row of bushes. It's the nicest row of bushes on the property. And unfortunately, they have grown pretty large, and installing a permanent fence there will probably significantly damage that hedgerow. And so I think we're just trying to look for a temporary solution as opposed to installing a permanent fence there, because if we install the permanent fence there, that hedgerow may have to come out, and I don't think we want to do that.
Push the fence back a little bit.
Yeah, because
the path is right at there's not enough room. It's like right there.
Just so we can pass this, you just got done saying too that you can walk through it and you could drive through it because that's where you're going to have a problem. So eventually you're going to have to put a permanent fence up. So I just don't want to be renting stuff to send back to pay to have someone come put it in because
we won't
half
do
the
that.
cost.
Yeah, we won't do that. We'll I think Jim is asking them if we have the capability, given the limited space we have, to install a fence there. It might be a permanent fence there. The temporary fence can be on, I don't know what you call it, but they have a temporary base. They're not driven into the ground. And so you can shift those a little bit. But if we have to install posts, there's not very much room between the hedgerow and the path. And then the northern edge of the path there immediately starts going up into the golf course. So you can't extend the path over to the north. So we're looking at all that, Mayor. We will definitely make sure that we're not spending a lot of money only to take something down and put it back up again.
Yeah,
We'll
because the
definitely-
temporary ones are very movable too.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, 23 and 24.
So I think the village will eventually, staff has been referring to the property for quite some time as the future Village Hall Park. I know the Park and Recreation Committee has begun the process of going through our standard operating procedure in terms of park naming and stuff like that. Our thought from the staff level would be, there probably isn't a need to rush into determining what the name of the park will be at this point. You might even want that to be a community kind of project and get feedback from the community on it. So we actually have a Village of Homer Glen sign that we had to take down from 159th Street because of the construction project. It's in storage, actually, at the golf facility. It's in storage. So we thought we would install that at the front of the property where the old Woodbine sign used to be, put a new sign underneath of it that says the park is open from dawn to dusk. And that would be a very inexpensive way to sign the property for right now. And then when the board later on decides to name the property, then of course we would spend the money on a new sign. The other thing is that we don't know right now at this point whether that's going to be the main interest of the park or if the main interest is going to shift farther to the west. So maybe a temporary sign at this point would be good. And that sign is in great shape, so it'll look very nice in that landscape area. It's a very inexpensive way to do it.
Okay. 37, 38?
37 and 38, okay, they're kind of separate. 37 is a security camera. That is basically just a policy question to you guys. If you want us to do that, obviously there have to be a security camera and a recording device. I can't give you too many details about that because, to be quite honest, we have not focused on that item, but we will focus if it's a priority for you.
I would like to see something there, especially at the entrance that you were talking about where the bollards are. If everything else is fenced off, that's going to be pretty much where everybody's coming in and out. And I'd just like to see a camera there just for some kind of security.
You can actually put wireless cameras up there, and I agree, we want them there.
Well, my only other thought on the
So-
camera would be on the back of, maybe I'm wrong, but on the back of the building near that patio or somewhere in the vicinity of the middle of the building that maybe has a 180-degree view.
Maybe what we could do is we could get someone out there with, a good knowledge of this and ask for their feedback on where it could go. One of the challenges we might have, and we might have to add too, is the lighting is very dim.
No,
So
you don't have to worry about that either, because they have night cameras,
Okay.
absolutely no light, it'll show whatever it is.
My reason for that though also is just vandalism on the back of the future.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but you need to also do it down the fence line, because you still have the residents on both sides. Well, not so much on the west side, but definitely on the east side. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to even stick a camera down towards where the houses are on the west side.
well, we'll do some good research on that and even look at maybe multiple camera options and get that back to you. Okay, that's going to take a little bit longer than early next week, but we'll get back to you on that one.
Okay.
And then number 38 is something actually that the village staff strongly suggests. We have two small shelters on the property. One of them is in significant disrepair. In other words, we would actually have to put some money into fixing it up. When I took the executive director from Park District 3, they really focused on those two shelters. They're very small. They're very close to water, both of them. One of them is 18 feet away from the water edge. The other is 20. What we would really like to do is to remove those shelters. We would do that on a staff basis, dispose of them at virtually no cost to the village, and that would be the staff's recommendation, but I defer to the board's wishes.
I think that they're more of a liability than anything else. I'm trying to fix them is going to be, I also see it as a hangout spot at night.
Yeah, I agree.
Take them down. Yeah, so
Okay, very good.
Consensus, take them down.
We can make good use of the stoned area that one of the shelters is in, because we will probably locate a portage on there. It's an easily accessed place from the path so at least we'll make good use of the stone area that used to be underneath of it. So, all right, very good. And then number 41 is probably the most important. It's good to reference the map that Director Salamovich helped us with, which I appreciate. So when you walk in the main entrance to the park area and start your walk, you could walk back this very nice stone path, and you get to the end of it, and then you start heading back. unless you double back the exact same way you came, you can't really make it all the way back on path. There's this yellow section that would need to be added in order to do a nice little loop at the back for a full 1.2 mile trail, which is a very nice distance for dog walking or just walking yourself. The contractor that we've used out on the site these past many months has provided us, I think, a very reasonable bid to install that path. He can get started on it this weekend. It will take some time to do. We did make contact with HR Green, realizing that the board was going to act on that contract tonight, and asked them if they felt that where that path would be installed would hinder future, would be underwater, basically. And they provided us with a response and a little map, and it's very faint. I'll start it here with Trustee Caprio, he can pass it down. Very faint circle of where the lowest part of the property is, where they think actually the new detention pond may be located. And as you see it, you'll notice it's north of this. And so there's a very good chance that the installation of this path will actually be able to remain and won't hinder the project. So I'll just pass that down.
Right, because that was going to be my comment. I hate to have, $4,000 if it was only going to be temporary.
Right.
Because we discussed it at Perks.
Right.
And I think I would rather see it moved or just go back the same way instead of putting that kind of money into something that's only going to be there for a few months.
Right, well, and of course, we were concerned about that too. That's why we asked them. And one of the great things about that path is that path is a golf course path, of course, but it's been there for years and years and years. People are used to it. The neighbors have seen people utilize it all these years. And it has a very good stone base that's been, that we'll have to upgrade, which is what we'll be doing. But these are the things you look for when you're creating a new path system in a park. An area that people are used to utilizing, and it's kind of on the edge of on the park, so it's not in the middle, like it would hinder development in the middle of the park. So I think this would probably be a very good investment of our funds, and we could do it very quickly with a contractor that's really proven themselves and over these past many months. So
this is something that Pam and I looked at probably 2 months ago, and it really makes a lot of sense to just spend the money to tie that in, to just create so much more of a flow in the park rather than going in a park when you come to a dead end and then turning back around and going in the way you came. It just kind of creates a nice flow. And in talking to HR Green, they're going to be so far away from this park with that detention, I don't think it's going to affect it.
The amount that was quoted is a not to exceed amount, and he says if he's able to get it done cheaper, he will do it cheaper.
Can I ask, with the extension of this path?
Yes.
Are we going to allow any bicycles or anything on this existing path initially for this passive recreation?
It's going to be too small.
Well, I agree, and that's why I'm saying when people may be walking this path, when they get to this crossroad, if you have skateboards or bicycles or anything interfering.
It's stone, though.
Yes, the path is stone, yeah.
The path is.
You're going to have to be a pretty tough
This whole
bike
path
ride.
isn't.
But the new one
Just the new
is.
extension is correct.
Well, after you get past the building, basically, it's pretty much all stone.
Oh, it
turns
is.
into like that
It's
fine
been-
crushed stone.
It's only asphalt around the building.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
Trustee Costa has a question.
I think we have to remember here is this is what we're going to do to open a park this year.
Right.
And as the Parks Committee works on the park plan, and we know what's going to happen with stormwater detention or any problems there, it's a very good possibility they may come up with a 10 or 12-foot wide asphalt path so that bicyclists, moms with strollers, and of course our ADA accessibility for the community. So right now, we're just trying to make something that's usable so people don't have to walk through mud and things like that. It's temporary, but it could act as a base for the future. But this is just to get the park open.
That's right, I concur.
Absolutely.
Is the 3,900 that's estimated for this portion, that's included in the 15,000 that we've talked about earlier?
It is.
Okay.
It's obviously one of the largest items.
Okay. Do we know how wide the path is for
It-
the bulk of this stretch?
It varies. It varies. There's, it's about 4 feet wide, 4 to 5 feet wide. It varies though.
Okay.
There's portions that it opens up and it's quite wide.
As I look in what would be, I guess, maybe the southeast corner around that pond, where the path seems to wind around that and then stop about 3/4 of the way around the pond. Am I seeing that right?
Oh, I know. That's not actually a path.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking. That's not actually.
Walk around that pond or something.
There's that on the bottom here. The path goes by it. It goes to the north of it here and heads north. So this isn't actually part of it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Your paper's there, Ken.
Thank you.
Okay, so then the other feedback required is we've really gone after it. We've done a lot of stuff. There's already garbage cans on the site. You know, we've really tried as hard as we can, but there are things that will take some time over the next several weeks. I'm not sure if the board tonight is expecting me to tell you a date that I think it could be open. I will tell you that what I really like to do is diligently work over the next 2 weeks to get as much done as we can, report back to you at your next meeting, and then maybe establishing an opening date at that meeting, which is September the 9th. We'll have a better fix on what yet has to come, but we're working on it every single day, and we won't let anything get in our way. We'll move forward with abandon. So.
I'd like to see it move forward on this. And it's pretty difficult right now with 49 items to give us a date when we can open the park. But hopefully by the next meeting we can have that, and hopefully we can work on items that definitely have to be done to open it.
Right.
And if there's some items that could be done in a day or two in the back corner, then we can possibly put a sign up, park temporarily closed today due to minor construction, so I'd like to get it open soon.
Right, the number one thing we'll be focusing on is removal of hazards, okay, and the path. Those are the number one things, because the signage and stuff like that, those are easy things to get done. Finally, what I just would say is I really meant it when I said earlier, it's really a team effort. You'll notice on the spreadsheet, and I know you all know how everybody wears many hats here at the village, you'll notice like half the staff's names are listed on here, because when you have such a small staff, you have to divide up the spoils, and so everybody has a little piece of this. They're doing, you know, one staff member might be working on signage, another staff member is working on, with the contractor on the path, another staff member is working on cleaning up the property. So I really want to appreciate and just give credit to the staff how much they've done these past 2 weeks and all the good work they're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. So thank you for your feedback. I assume that the feedback, what comes with that is the authority to go ahead and move forward with the expenses that are outlined on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mayor and Board. Appreciate it.
All right. So with that, is there any old business? Is there any new business? Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.